everyone, I'm Vijayalakshmi and this is our first episode about art, literature, music, and cinema. We are going to have a lot of episodes about artists, musicians, and also writers and poets, and maybe movies and directors. So, like, comment, and subscribe for more content to come. In this episode, we want to know about the relation between painting and literature. For this purpose, we are using an essay, which name is Nexus between painting and literature. I will share more information in the caption of this podcast. We are going to have a closer look at things discussed in this essay. So first, we want to talk about some important topics brought in the introduction part, just to have a background about the topic. Number 1. In the 1980s, there was a theory by Stephen Green called New Historicism. It says that a text, whether it is a painting or it is a music, always has a cultural and social relevance to the period that it was formed. Quotation mark. There's always a historical connotation in all forms of art. Number 2. William Saroyan once said about the visual arts that, quotation mark, art is looking at things carefully. Can I give you my opinion? I believe that as an artist or author, you should always have different perspective to things around you or are happening around you. You should develop this ability through time. Number 3. When literature depends on narratives for its portrayal, painting, on the other hand, depends on the use of colors, backgrounds, and movements that are represented in the artwork. I'm a painter myself, and every brush stroke or every color that I use is becoming different every day and closer to my soul. And as I'm into expressive painting, these brush strokes and colors, I believe that they show your inner feelings and emotions. That is just an opinion, though. Number 4. Literature in the field of arts is the most effective means of expression, as authors either write to vent out their emotions or to record memories. On the other hand, painters show a high intensity of emotions and feeling reflected through paintings. Both painting and literature, in any form, are mediums of communication between the artist and their audience. Number 5. 3 branches of literature are novels, poetry, and drama. Branches of painting are still life painting. If you paint anything that does not move or is dead, this is still life painting. Figurative painting. It makes references to the real world, especially human figure. And narrative painting, which is showing us a part of a story. Number 6 and the last one. The essay also talks about inspirations. It gives us an example, The Girl with a Pearl Earring. This is a painting by Vermeer during the 17th century, and it was later involved into a novel by Tracy Chevalier in 1999, and later turned into a movie in 2003. So the first inspiration was the painting. Let me tell you something. After I read this part, I was looking at my mother's bookcase and she owns this book in Persian. It was translated by Goli Emami and published by Nashr Cheshme. So if you want to read it in Persian, go ahead. Let's continue. Biblical stories have affected painting and sculpture or art in general. European churches and cathedrals are living testaments. They show stories that you heard through years, but they sometimes differ from the real stories. One of the most famous examples is Giotto's The Morning of Christ. In this painting, we see the mother of the Christ, Mary, but we know that Mary was not present in the real scene. The Divine Comedy's epic poem, Inferno, tells the story of Dante's journey through hell, purgatory, and paradise, where he meets his beloved Beatrice. It's a book that has influenced a lot of artists, and they turned the poem's pictures into actual paintings in various styles and techniques. All of the William Blake's, Gustave Doré's, and Salvador Dali's paintings are inspired by Dante's Inferno. There are some novels which are not about art, but they present a work of art. For example, Pride and Prejudice, written in 1813, is one of the most famous love stories by Jane Austen. When Elizabeth visits Pemberley, where Mr. Darcy lives, by the way, Mr. Darcy is the suitor whom she had previously ignored, there is a work of art on her right side. She begins to change her mind about Mr. Darcy. She falls in love by seeing the artwork, and as the essay says, it shows how art can change lives in all kinds of ways. I loved this sentence actually. Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray, written in 1891, is a novel about a handsome young man whose portrait grows old in a locked room. The essay also talks about Hamlet and a novel by Virginia Woolf called To the Lighthouse, that you can read more about them in this essay. Painting is silent poetry, and poetry is painting that speaks, said Plutarch. There are lots of paintings which are based on a poem or a single word from a poem. Also, there are poems that are inspired by an artwork or a single element of an artwork. For example, John Waterhouse's painting, The Lady of Shalott, depicts a scene from Tennyson's poem of the same name. He painted 3 versions of this character. The first one is painted in 1888, and the painting actually is based on the ending of this poem. If you still can't read poems, there are lots of websites and YouTube videos that can help you. You just have to search the poem's name plus the word explanation, and you have access to a lot of content that can help you read poems more easily. The next part of this essay talks about a term called ekphrastic poetry. Now, what is an ekphrastic poetry? What is it really? Let me read the actual sentences. It means written description of a visual work of art. The poets either take a single element of that painting as their inspiration to write a poem or choose the whole painting as their inspiration. Ekphrastic poetry can not just describe a painting, but it can also use visual references as a common theme or reflect on the painter's life or relationship with his work. You may ask, what does ekphrastic mean in word? It means to depict. So we were talking about ekphrastic poetry. In this kind of poetry, poets look for symbolic meanings. They make up stories and they even write dialogues and dramatic sequences. The poets are frequently influenced by the artwork. For example, there is a poem about Vincent van Gogh's painting, The Starry Night. Before reading this essay, I didn't even know that such a poem existed. Anne Sexton's poem about Vincent van Gogh's The Starry Night depicts a frightening sight and engages with the artwork in a deeply intimate way. The poet demonstrates how a painting can reflect a person's mood. There's another painting we are going to talk about. It's called The Fall of Icarus. It's by Peter Bruegel. Let me tell you the story of Icarus. Daedalus, who is the father of Icarus, was a craftsman and an inventor and sculptor in his hometown, which was Athens. He invented carpentry and all the tools used for it. He made sculptures so lifelike that Hercules mistook them for actual men. Daedalus was egotistical and jealous, and was worried that his nephew was a more skillful craftsman, so he murdered him. As a punishment, he was banished from Athens and went to a city called Crete. Crete's king, Minos, invited him to be the palace's technical advisor. He did lots of things for them. I'm not going to mention all of them, but king's wife was cursed by the god Poseidon to fall in love with the king's prized bull. So Daedalus helped her to seduce the bull. Then the king's wife and the bull have a baby together. The baby is called Minotaur, which is half human, half bull. After that, Daedalus was forced by the king to make an inescapable labyrinth beneath the palace for the Minotaur. After it was finished, the king imprisoned Daedalus and his son Icarus. Daedalus made his son and himself wings made of bird feathers and glue, which was from the wax of the candles, and they flew away. The father, which is Daedalus, warns his son not to fly too close to the sun, because in that way the wax would be melted and he would fall, and he also warned him not to fly too close to the sea, so the feathers would be wet and heavy and he cannot fly anymore. But Icarus does not listen to his father and flies too close to the sun and then falls into the sea and dies. So in this painting, you can only see Icarus's legs on the right side in the water. Some poets have written books or poems about this painting or painter, and for example, we can mention W.H. Auden's attempt at The Fall of Icarus. His attempt not only provides the painting's narrative structure, but also serves as a psychological commentary on human suffering. I'm not going to give you all the examples, so go ahead and read the essay yourself. And this is the end of our first episode. Please let us know what you think in the comments below. Goodbye!